So this morning I noticed that I haven't been that I haven't been spending time kind of feeding my newfound environment because of all the time and energy I'm putting into what part of my job is. That's the other thing too. Only part of my job is writing the IEPs.
Mhm,
I still have an e-course. Um, administration the other day, one of my principal and one of my vice principals got an email that I got too, but they were unsure that I got it, so they sent it my way because they know it's about the esports stuff that's coming.
mhm.
And they're like, "Roland, did you get this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got it. Thanks, guys, for thinking of me." Like, they're excited about that. I'm excited about that. But my whole world right now is trying to get these IEPs done and
Mhm.
dealing with everything I don't know and asking a million questions every day where I can tell the people that were asked me and the other teacher who's doing this, the people that we're asking questions to, they're still answering, they're still gracious, they're still helpful, but I can sense, I sense that they're like, oh God, more questions while they're trying to do their job.
Oh, that's a thing.
It's a thing,
It
but it's
it
unfortunate because I'm not going to stop because if I
not
stop, then I'm not going to know the answers.
I do try and I aspire to and expect an adult mentorship model. I'm not good on the side eye or the sort of like, pseudo shame kind of thing of because why are you asking me another question? I don't roll that way. Like, and I will cut right through that when I actually notice it in people. Because the counter side, we talked about this before, that whole call me when you need me or call me if you need me. My primary defense to that is that I actually do it. Like, so I'll consider myself a bit of an anomaly when I experience that statement because I'm of two minds of it. I think to myself, poor leadership. You saying that is poor leadership. And I would say that to anyone listening, never say that to anybody. Find a different way to say it. Never say to someone who's in desperate need and you know they're in desperate need because you're saying to them, you okay? Call me if you need me. I'm there. Like, here's my number. Like, don't get too caught up thinking that just because you provide someone your mobile number, that they're going to have the availability, capacity, or even like the remembering to reach out to you when they're in the shits. You have to schedule the check-ins. That's the only reasonable way, the only reasonable defense for something like that, to make sure that whoever you've just said, that fresh person, that person with the big problem, the person that's like freaking out right now, that they would feel any sort of assurance in that offer. Call me if you need me, and I'm going to check in with you next Friday. I'm looking at my schedule. I'm going to be swinging by your classroom next Friday. So you've got the option to call, and I'm coming to you. So that's the offer that I would do. Me, if I were hearing that, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm calling you all the time. I'm just like, I would actually say, are you comfortable giving me your mobile number? Where would you like me to send the requests? Is it okay if I show up at your classroom? I will get the pre-approval for the invitation so that I will stalk that person until they actually say to me, whoa, enough. I'm sensitive to know when I've actually crossed the line, but I will keep taking from that fountain, that resource, not to deplete it. I'm not that kind of an idiot, but I will keep coming to you. If you've presented yourself as a friendly, and that's starting level, right? Presented yourself as a friendly. The next level up, like, are you friendly and useful? Because at some point, the friendly information, it might not be useful anymore. Kind of like how in some ways, like, we are talking before about using apps and stuff like that, when you have to go from the freebie version to the actual paid version, when it's no longer useful to stay at that level, you're going to invest higher. So you're going to sort of, okay, you've now become useful. If you become invaluable, then chances are I'm going to have to take the risk and move into the friendship zone, because it's really hard to remain. It's hard to sort of lean on that invaluable level, I think, of like human resource, unless you're prepared to go vulnerable, do some risk, and start to collaborate and reciprocate. If you actually do know that there's somebody at your space, and one of the in that's invulnerable, not invaluable, not invulnerable, invaluable. And I've started to hear some language from you in this new school that I think people are you're in the friendly, maybe not friends, but they have moved from friendly to useful and are kind of in that somewhere zone between useful and invaluable. Now, whether or not they become friends, I don't know, but I can hear it. And I think that's awesome, but it's also part of the grind of figuring shit out. Like, man.
So in the middle of so this morning when I was kind of hanging around the house just doing stuff here and there, I thought maybe on Tuesday or Thursday I want to grab one or two boxes of Timbits, and in the morning, 15 minutes before the bell starts, just walk around the halls and say hi to kids, offer them a Timbit. And if they're like, "What is this? What's going on?" I could be like, "It's Timbit Tuesday or Timbit Thursday. Mr. Chidiak's going around just checking in with everybody. And you want a Timbit? Grab a Timbit." So that I can get that vibe of what's going on in the hallways, what the kids are about. I don't know, smiling, saying hello to people that maybe nobody else is smiling, saying hello to. Um, I've noticed like when I'm rushing from one room to another or returning an OSR or going to pick up an OSR at lunch or in the morning, I'll see kids in the stairwell area by themselves, hanging out, doing their thing, they're eating something and they're on their phone. And I'm like, has anybody said hello to these kids? I don't know. It's just like, for me, that's very new. And I get some people want to just be on their own. I have no issue with that. But have these people communicated with anybody today? Like, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this shift to be an environment like this. It's also doing re-engagement. I know kids, they're like, I don't want to go to school. Nobody talks to me. I don't have any friends. So this morning it hit me because I told you last night I hit a wall. I crashed and I just put everything away. And I'm like, I'm done working. I'm done working for tonight. I'll pick it back up tomorrow after the podcast. Um, yeah, it's been overwhelming in a number of different ways. Um, and I think for me, I can't get the answers I want fast enough. And I can't, there's a lot of gray. I just want black and white sometimes. We had here, I'll tell you a story and then I would like to move on. But so we sent out a letter to parents saying, because we're consulting with them, we're building your child's IEP and we'd like to hear from you. What's working, what's not working. Tell us what you need to tell us. It's more structured, but I don't remember all the questions. Well, we got a couple of responses where the parents have pages of suggestions on how to make school better, how to ensure that their child's IEP will lead to success. There's a lot of things on there that I look at as a teacher and a parent, and I'm like, okay, these points are ridiculous. Like, I don't see how this is supposed to happen. Then there's other things where I'm flat out like, yeah, I'm not even bringing this one to administration. This isn't happening. We don't do this here. And even I know that. And I've been in a high school for 2 weeks. We're not doing this, is not feasible. And if if it's coming up today for the first time ever, then we got another problem because the kid's in grade 11. And anyway, so there's still some like my brain isn't totally fried, right? But there's some stuff that's like kind of gray. Like, okay, well, this makes sense that this would work for this kid, but I don't feel like I can just do it on my own. I need to check with people. So I follow the hierarchy, right? I check with my colleagues and they don't give me a straight answer. Then I check with my program heads. They don't give me a straight answer. It's like, okay, well, I guess it's time to send admin an email, and not like a nobody's answering my question. Just, hey, I need to check in with you because if I'm going to put this on an IEP, I'm sure there's going to be pushback. So I want to make sure that I've done my due diligence to talk to everybody who has some kind of authority to say, Yes, no, maybe so. We're in this situation. I want to make sure. So when people come back and they're like, Chidiak, what are you doing? Like, you just making decisions on your own? No, I consulted. I consulted. And then based on my consultation and the hierarchy of power, this is the green light I was given. And then, so it's like, the last thing I want to do right now is just say for 100 different situations, yeah, I made a professional decision on my own. And they're looking at me like, you're nuts, right? Some things I'm flexing on, some things I'm not going to flex on because I'm at the bottom of the pile. I get that. I know my role. I know my role, and I also speak up when I have to. And they're not going to like that either because when I go down that road, there's no turning back. I know what I'm doing, and if it sinks my ship, then it sinks my ship because I know what I'm doing. But there's a lot of gray cases, and nobody's giving me a straight answer. I'm like, so okay, so you're just leaving me. I'm just out there on my own then. If it hits the fan, I'm screwed. And if it doesn't hit the fan, I'm a hero, but nobody's going to know. That's the vibe I'm getting, and I don't like that vibe because
Mhm.
that's a vibe I want to feel after 3 years of being in a place, not a week and a half. Anyway, I'm not complaining. I'm just
Mhm.
providing this is my lived experience, and I'm still enjoying myself. Like, I do like being there. I do like talking to the kids. The team that I'm part of so far, they are very like they don't just say they're going to help. They're helping and they're working and they're doing. Um, I just feel like there's a million more questions, and sometimes I need someone to say, yes, you can do that, or no, we're not doing that. I'm like, okay, then that means the challenge is how do I manipulate this? How do I problem solve this one? But anyway, so last night I hit a wall. This morning I was a little bit more. I was in a zone, my meditation spiritual zone, and I was like, I got to get out. I got to get into the hallways so I can feel that energy that I wanted so bad.
Mhm.
Timbit Tuesday or Timbit Thursday, one or the other.
You know me, I don't need a big excuse to bring Timbits in to kind of demonstrate some appreciation for my crew. I'm a big Timbit pusher. Um, I hear ya. You don't want to necessarily go on. I just want to light up a couple of things that you said that inspire me and kind of like it just some hot spots that I we call the we what that thing where you're sort of receiving the tomes and volumes of information from the families. Um in my world, from my perspective, that's gold. I really do think it's gold. My experience has been it's sometimes really difficult to get a sense of what families are willing to do or sometimes even think they're permitted to do in helping their kid with their education. So in our consultation form, it's kind of a standardized form. It talks about goals, strengths, needs, pretty standard pattern. What are you short-term, long-term goals? What are your hopes for it? Stuff like that. We send it home, and coincidentally, I sent similar forms home on Friday. So that went home, as well as the sign off form for their see a laptop, a permission form so they can ride the bike in my class, the stationary bike, and the permission form for our community walking tours. So all those went home on Friday. Um, and funny enough, so we're talking about this as a kind of in part as a department, and one of my colleagues was talking about just the frustration of getting one of these forms back. They actually are filling out the form, but they're saying things like what are your child's goals, and they keep getting things like um to have donuts on Fridays, to have a TV in their room, and they're in constant communication back with the family saying no, like it's about school, to bring donuts to school on Friday. So they just keep reconfiguring this information that's interesting. Kind of slows you down because it's like now it's the time we've got, just under a month to get all this documentation out. So it's sort of like, please just give me the kernels. I just want the kernels. Um, and professionally, I mentioned to you this I think in a polo about how refreshing it is for me to hear how you're making the invisible visible. So this sort of assumptions that are sort of built into operating at the high school level within a special education department and the administrative part of that. the questions you are asking are sort of shaking a little bit of the foundation of how they normally do business, and sort of identifying and being, on one hand, maybe even feeling kind of brazen about seeking understanding, but also saying, I can't move until I have a clear answer about this. I imagine there are individuals there that are really being refreshed like that because they've forgotten that at one point they had those same concerns, and either by efficiency or just the steamroller of having to do this school year, it gets flattened and kind of pushed into the past because you have to move forward, especially when in this particular season, the first 30 days is it's tricky because you are in the same mode of building the best possible documentation as the leap off, accounting for all of it because there's all these, your board uses a certain platform, I use a platform, and also seeking information to feed into it. So it's this constant iterative cycle, and at all the same time trying to take some peace in the fact that, and here's the duality of it, has to be done, has to be handed out, have to have the best possible leap off. For some people that's fait complete and they never bother going back into the goddamn thing ever again. Other people are thinking, okay, I'm going to get it to this level, but I realize that through September to October, I have to get it to this level because that's what I need to get it to, so it becomes a living document, so it gets added to throughout the actual school year, if you can ever make it back to it, right? So I like there's a lot of fizziness to this moment where it's just like it's hard to kind of really see. The waters aren't murky, they're just constantly bubbling with stuff. And again, you making the invisible visible, I think that means you're asking good questions, but I think it's also you're kind of keystoning the thinking, as in we need to actually still think this way, even though it's stressful, even though it takes up time, even though, it frustrates you. These questions are important. And I'm going to keep asking them. Well, like you said, you need to know things, and you want to have people that are going to help you to understand that. That's your team. And if even one of them has kind of like, I think about when I first started this school. So my dog Hazel, right, when she's in play mode, like where she wants to engage, you got to be cautious about making eye contact with her. Because she make eye contact, she's like, no. And you're like, I just need to get my coffee, like kind of in front of you. Then she'll run out of the room and come back with a toy. Like, is it time? Heaven help you if I'm coming into your department, you make eye contact with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to go. Chids, okay, and I'm coming right across to you, right? So I like I said, it's this fizziness. My tail's wagging. I'm like, okay, cool. You made eye contact with me. Thank you. I appreciate that. Come in, tail wagging.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Well, keep your eyes and ears open for Timbit Thursday or Timbit Tuesday, and I'll let you know how that goes.
I like it. Very
Um,
much. I'll throw a hello. Is Rochelle still out there? Anyone else jump in?
Rochelle says bon matin.
Bon matin, Rochelle.
And Rochelle agreed with you. If someone needs an answer, then she'll give it without a problem.
Mm-hmm. I think that's there's an interesting finesse to that. Rochelle, do you think? Interesting finesse to that. That idea that it's a fossil, right? That full of shit sayings and idioms. Fossil fuel, just call me if you need me. I get it. There can be emotional integrity behind it, maybe intentionality, but it really does let you off the hook. You're standing at the door like, okay, you good? You good? We good? And even that saying we good in that moment is kind of like not right? We good? Call me if you need me. I'm there for you. Because you can't be. What if you're in the middle of a lesson and they're like, yeah, remember when you said call you when I need you? And that has happened to me. People have called, and I'll take the call. But the truth of it is, it doesn't come in a time where you as a mentor, it can be convenient. And there will be times where like, I can't help you. Like, I can't help you. Wait a second. And, and you get the vibe on the other end where it's like, but you said, You said you would. Remember, you made eye contact with me. My tail wagged. I believed in you.
Uh,
And that's the look that Hazel gives me. I gotta be honest, like, gotta be honest, fossil fuel, right? There's another one.
gotta be honest, yeah.
If I make eye contact with the dog and I don't reciprocate, the look on her face, she's like, and then someone else makes eye contact with her, and she's like, okay, it's you then. It's gotta be it's somebody else.
Dude, I had a student say to me, so one of the things we do at my school, I don't know who else does this. We try to meet with every single student on our caseload.
Mhm.
And I was meeting with a student, and near the end of my like meeting, interview, introduction, the student says, I'm going to be honest with you right now. And I stopped them. I said, stop. And they did. And I'm like, does that mean everything you said to me before now wasn't true? And they were like, the look on
Takes a
their
second.
face,
Takes a second.
they didn't know what to do. I'm like, why would you say that now? And just silence. And I'm in
It'd
my
be awesome
fossil
if you had
fuel mode.
taken your yeah, you take your whole sheet of notes. You're like,
It was all
okay,
digital. It was all digital.
yeah.
So I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
gotta
it. Let's
delete. But
delete.
they're like, no, I'm just like, I wanted to tell you something. I'm just being a dad joke funny. And
I think it's
you,
hilarious.
yeah. Anyway, so they're like, no, no, everything I told you before is the truth. I'm like, okay, okay. It was just a fun moment with a student. Um,
That's awesome.
it was a fun moment with a student. I did that last week. I sent an email to one of the new teachers that I met at the new teacher orientation at the school. I sent an email. I'm like, "Yo, dude, how are things going on your end?" And he responded. He's like, "Things are good. How are things going on your end?" And I was like, "I'm good." It totally caught him off guard, but I've done that to a few people. I'm like, "You know where to find me."
Mhm.
And but no buts. I'm just like they like, "How are you?" I'm like, "I'm busy as hell." Like
Yeah.
it's we're talking because I'm in the bathroom. I'm
Mhm.
not going to your space. You're not coming to mine. I'm in the bathroom. You're here. I'm here. We're talking. Once we're done, I'm back in that room working away. So it was like I had a moment of, oh, I better send him an email because the last time he talked to me, he looked like how I think I look right now,
Mm.
even though I don't see myself in the mirror. Um, because imagine, here's the other brand new teacher teaching 3 courses in a high school like that, right? It's
Mm.
like, "Go, go." And that's probably gonna be me at some point too. Right now, it's not. Well, next semester when I have my credit recovery course, because now I've seen what that looks like, I'm trying not to think about that too much because I think I'm gonna have a problem the first couple of weeks trying to
I'm sh
figure out.
I I'm sure there would be some value in trying to pre-plan and premeditate, but I
It's
feel
too
like
early
what
right now for me
yeah, I
for
would
that,
say
but
whatever benefit came out of that pre-plan would be at the cost of where you need to be right now. Like, it
right.
steals from your presence.
And
Steals
right
from your
now,
presence.
there's no stealing from my present right now. I think that's more of a December
Yeah.
conversation with people.
Yep.
I think. Plus, the teacher who's I was watching teaching it, who's one of my mentors, he's running around, flying around. I'm like, oh God, he's been doing this for years and he's flying.
Mhm.
He knows where to fly to. Well, I don't even know where the destinations are, but he does. And it's like, oh my God, if that's what he looks like right now doing credit recovery, what am I gonna look like? But then I was like, no, stop. Put that away. You're not going there right now. You've got other things going on right now that need full attention. You can deal with that later. And I was good at that. I compartmentalized easily. And then he tried to talk to me, but I said, his name's John. I'm like, John, I'm not talking. I can't talk to you about this right now
Mhm.
because I can't add it to my plate. He's like, yeah, I get that. I get that. He goes, I'm like, I appreciate what you're doing. He was trying to give me like some couple of tips and tricks. And I'm like, I get that, but I got nothing left. I got nowhere to put it except into the anxiety section. And it's like,
Yeah. The
I don't
shredder.
want to
It's
do
it's a
that.
bit of a shredder. Like, it really is. It goes shredded. It won't necessarily make sense, so
Rochelle says I say to send me an email that I can get back as soon as I can.
mhm. Again, I'll just put it out there as a professional challenge. Fundamentally, I do I do hear the kindness and compassion when people offer that. The fact that you're even there talking means that you're already engaged in that relationship, right? I think as long as you have the dual practice of realizing that you, as you say that, have to do the same thing. I will call you because you need me. I will stop by because you need me. I notice that you are in need. I am going to check back with you. And as you're walking away from that meeting, you pull out your mobile device, you put in a reminder, swing back by this classroom, drop a coffee off, send a note. Send that. So Rochelle, send the email that says, I'm still thinking about you. I'm out here. I'm busy with a couple things, but I'm going to swing by your class on Thursday. You could even have that as a template, and people would be mind blown if you had that as a text template or an email template, and you just copy and paste it and sent it. The fact that someone does check back within a reasonable amount of time, so I think you still have to kind of hit in the afterglow zone. 3 weeks later doesn't work. I would say a week. I think professionally, within 5 business days, you get back in touch and say some sort of an appreciation. Thank you for that conversation. I am thinking about you. I have some ideas, whatever it is. Hit send. Away you go. That person receiving that will get a instant endorphin boost, even if everything is okay, because they're going to think to themselves, that's cool. That person that I was kind of vulnerable with, that person that saw me when I was in the shits, that person that was at my doorway said, call me. And that in itself might be the trigger, just a little bit of lightness for that person that was feeling low, the mentee. I'm going to reach out to them. That's right. That's right. They were the one. Because sometimes these mentor moments too, and I found this in it, like I find myself in deep conversations with individuals that I've just met. Like I can flow into there fast. And I'm going to suspect, because this happens to me, I walk away, I'm like, oh shit, what was that person's name? As a matter of fact, at the tail end of last school year, there's a teacher at my school that has on a couple occasions kind of just poked their head in and looked at my classroom. They're like, damn, I want this class. I'm like, damn, you ain't getting it. This is my class, but come on in. You're welcome to come and visit, have a tea, have a sit. You want to do some drawing? You want to talk? Listen to some tunes? Don't care. Come in, exist. Come in and be. So near the tail end of the year, they came in 3 times. And dude, they shared their life story with me. And it was one of those moments where you're just like, whoa. Like you just one of those where you're like, you remember the human element in this great big building of like 1,400 people. And they went deep, and they went deeper, and they kept on going deeper. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man. And right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you this person's name. I can't. I really haven't firmed up what this person's name is. It's like you skip over the four. It's almost like that anonymity somehow created intimacy. They were able to share. Maybe that's like the confessional kind of like mindset, that you just feel comfortable enough to kind of like speak your heart, and you don't really know the person other than Father Roland. Like you know nothing about them other than the role that they represent. So that's that part, walking away from these mentee mentor moments, is that it's good to send that, and to even consider sending that, because if you walk away as the mentor and you're like, shit, what was that person's name? Like you actually have even fewer tools to connect with them, because you can't send the email, you can't do the text. You could say to someone, you're walking down, how you, yo, Chids, that teacher that has, the brown hair, and they rhyme off 15 people, like, no, female presenting, and they 10 people, like, shit, man. Right. So getting the name, so when you walk away, you can do some of this remote support, which we kind of have to do because of the complexity of our jobs. But again, you come back to that template. And I've been thinking about you. I really appreciate that you shared, your interests, your concerns with me. FYI, I just put in my calendar, I'm going to swing past your class this period, whatever. Same time next week. You could even say same time next week and have that as a template, because everyone would be different. And that person would know just on your calendar, you're like, okay, same time next week would be Friday during period 2. Boom, send. And I think you've done a really great, generative, easy for you to do as a mentor. And entirely out of the box that would give that person just some really, not only endorphins, what's the other one? What's the cuddle hormone? What's that one? Oxytocin. That comfort one, right? You're like, I am cared for and I can stay here. That's the safety. That's the safety chemical that we love, right? I can stay here. I'm loved. I'm cared for. It's that mental hug. So um I like this because we started this idea of like call me when you need me probably 2 or 3 years ago, noticing it, right? And even to sort of us to talk about it here, I'm sure other people have noticed that before, that sort of low key sense of betrayal where someone, or guilt, like I could never reach out um, when you probably should have. So I like that we've kind of evolved on this other side about professionally. What does that mean to support someone who would dare to be vulnerable in that moment? I think this is cool learning for me. I like it.
I want to take that and jump kind of sideways or whichever. I want to jump
You
and
jump.
say, what are your thoughts about people in formal leadership who avoid telling you the call me when you need me? Because for me, like you're talking about all this stuff, and I'm like, this is great stuff. This is great leadership for the mentor and modeling for the mentee. And then I went straight to this is interesting because I've had some formal leaders avoid saying and showing, call me if you need me. And I'm
I
like,
would go
go ahead.
finish your thought. No,
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 just
finish your
that
thought, bro.
those are the people that for me, the call me if you need me means it's a default. If you're in that role, you're running a ship and forget about all the administrative stuff. You're dealing with people and you're not going to say to someone in your building, call me if you need me, even if it's a fossil phrase. I think we got problems.
So my starting point for that is that if someone doesn't offer it, I'm okay with that. My problem lies when it's said without reading the room. So that's my starting point. The fact that someone would actually say, because it's become such common pattern, call me if you need me, you know where to find me. I'm there for you. Like those sort of things. They're uh so commonly said that for me they've lost their luster. Like I don't get a bump off it. Some people might. They're like, okay, cool. No one's ever said that to me. But yeah, that's very kind. I think there's sort of like fossilized banter that goes back and forth that moves from authentic, rich, compassionate, connected moment into like this kind of like vague, like, are we actually connected anymore? It's our way to be able, it's an exit sign. It's a way to get out of a conversation so we can go about our day. So I guess my bottom line with that is I don't have an issue if someone doesn't offer it. I get it. It's primarily when it is offered. My hot take on it is that it's inauthentic unless there's follow up on their end too. So to that end, if you are a leader that wants, and everyone's a leader, but let's say it's the formal leaders that have positional power over us or have experiential power over us, or um, they have some sort of resource that we need. So we're in a deficit, they're in an excess. We need something from them. Um, as that person that has the gold, I think it's critically important to use your scheduling tools to be able to return to that conversation. So if I'm giving advice to administrators out there, you say the words, you put it in your calendar, because I know from the inside and other administrators that I know, the schedule is everything. So your schedule gets socked up, like administrators in general. Like the one thing that teachers don't have to deal with is other people technically and actually populating our calendar for us. Like, our Outlook calendars and our board, administrators have shared calendars amongst whatever the teams are. And not only that, the administrative teams, so the individuals that are working the office also have access to their calendars, so they can put stuff into it. So as you're sitting there talking, I come in and I show up in your classroom, checking in, let's say, as the, administrator, Chids, how's it going? Hey, great class. This is kind of cool. Then I notice that you're in need, or you're going to be in need of some sort of mentorship, like a bug in there, or you're in need of some sort of a resource that I know I'm in possession of. At some point, I got to take a post-it note and put on, say, check back with Chids in 3 days. Do something that is actionable on my end to come back to you. But at the same time, when it's reasonable, not when we're having a good moment, so I don't pull up my phone, I'm walking back down the hall and right away I got to check my calendar. Can I be the person, the committed, the interested, the supportive, the compassionate? Can I actually be that person a week from now? Shit, my day is full. I just said I'm going to check in with them next Friday. I don't want to put myself in that position where I'm actually, okay, now in order for me to, like, I think you can be compassionate without crushing yourself too. Like, okay, now I have to move 4 meetings because I just said to Chids, I'm going to sort of, the Sudoku of my thing. So I think the intentionality, we leverage the technology, we make sure we slot it in there. And there's got to be just a little bit of wiggle room there where I'm right away. I see my calendar. I'm like, okay, can I come and visit you on doom, just to do a check back in? So there's going to take a little bit of reciprocity, a little bit of bounce back there. But fundamentally, I don't have an issue if someone never says it to me, because there's the getting my, making eye contact and then making the deeper contact where I actually feel like that person becomes a resource. I've met a lot of people that are resource rich that I've never either felt like they were willing to share openly. They would only do it in teaspoons, and then they become kind of an inconvenience to me. I'm like, okay, I can't. I think they're kind of cool, but they don't. I don't feel like they're really openly sharing in the way that they're speaking to. It's just a surface level offer. So I'm okay if it isn't offered. If I felt like I wanted more from the person, because sometimes that can happen too, I think ultimately that's up to me to kind of go back to them and say, I appreciated you spending time with me. Can I spend more time with you? And that actually is something that I did previously when I was still considering becoming an administrator. Um, one of the administrators at the school that I was at, I said to them specifically, I said, you know what, you crack me up. It seems like you have a um, really kind of like interesting sense of humor about being in this leadership position. I said, I'm considering it. Can I come and spend part of my prep with you and ask you questions and just kind of sit with you? And, maybe you can sort of share some case studies or some documentation. So job shadowing. And I did that for a year. Dude's name was Stefano. Great, great guy. He's now gone off to, I think, Ottawa Catholic Board, maybe. He's moved. But I got a year of hanging with Stefano. So I did the work of saying, okay, you weren't really giving it at all, but I stepped up and said, I do want to spend time with you. Can you? And he's like, yeah, sure. Come on by. And there were sometimes I couldn't, but I got to go to meetings with him. Like that time slot, I would just kind of show up and he's like, come on, we're doing hall duty. I'm like, okay, let's go see what this looks like. So I got a cool little cooperative learning experience from that. But I had to step up and say, you're of value to me, Stefano. Can I spend time with you? I'm doing the check back in because I really appreciated what you were offering. So that's all I got to say about that.
I gotcha. Thanks for
Gotcha.
sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Rochelle's loaded us up with comments, so
Let's do it.
yeah, let's do it. So the first one from a while back, Rochelle says that she always worries about overloading new teachers with info.
Hmm.
As soon as I read that, I thought, you know what? There's no way to not overload them.
Hmm.
And
There isn't.
this is, I'm speaking now personally, that you can imagine in the time that I've been at my new school talking to my mentors, there's there is absolutely no way. There is no way I could not be overloaded. Like I remember sitting the other day, there was a bunch of us sitting at a computer, and one person was showing us how to go through this process of doing this thing. And at the end of it, she says, "Oh, that I know that was a lot." I'm like, that was a lot. And I'm gonna check in with you first thing the next day when I'm told to do that, because everything you did was awesome and I paid attention, but none of it registered. And it was awesome because everybody there was like, it was, I got the feeling like they were like they're looking at me, they're looking at her, and they're like, he just said that out loud, but not, they're like, we're all thinking the same thing, but he just said that out loud. I was like, I'm honoring me. I'm honoring me. I'm here paying attention to everything you said. I watched you click every single button, but I know I got nothing left in the tank.
Mhm.
And I lost, the tank was full about 3 hours ago, but I can't go home. I'm here for the day. I'm talking to kids, I'm meeting teachers, I'm answering phones, but I was tapped out 3 hours ago.
Mhm.
So I appreciate the time you just gave me and showed me that. But I'm telling you, I'm going to need to go through what you just did at least two more times. And I'm going to have to endure this a few times for me to get it. That's a lot of time invested in something. It's a lot of time to learn something very basic.
Mhm.
And there are some very complex things that they're trying to teach me. And I'm like, I get it. You do your job. I'm going to do mine. I am not going to deny who I am. I am not going to do that. I'm just not. And if that costs, if that leads me to problems, then those are great problems to be part of because
I
I'm
think so.
not being unauthentic. I'm actually being more authentic than I've been in a very long time. Now, the funny thing is the next day, someone's like, Roland, so and so's on your caseload. You need to fill out that form. I went right to the person. I'm like, I have to fill out the form. Do you have a minute to? I'm going to start going through it, and I'm going to hit a wall because I told you the other day I'm out. I watched. I paid very close attention, but I got nothing registered. And then I went through it and I did it. And now I think I could do it again. But it was hilarious because I was like, remember what I told you yesterday? Well, it's coming to fruition now. Someone just put it on my plate, and it's something that's not going to wait a week. So I'm just going to do it now.
Mhm.
Um, Dude, I gotta tell you, I think what's keeping me going, like generally speaking, like waking up and feeling happy and going to work and doing my best, I think it's because I'm actually being true to who I am and I'm not pretending to be something else.
Mhm.
And some people are gonna think that's fantastic, and some people could be think this guy's a real jerk or this guy's an asshole or whatever they want to say. But I gotta be able to wake up and go, and I gotta be able to still support my family and to be mentally well. I need those things. And but there's a price for that. And the price, and whether I pay the price or not, last night I hit a wall. I just hit the wall and I was like, I'm done. So it doesn't matter what else needs to be done. I'm done. So nothing's gonna come. Anyway, so the overloading, there's no way not to. There's just too much. There's too much that somebody needs to know and somebody needs to operate within. There's no way somebody doesn't get overloaded. And if they don't, good for them. I don't see how that's possible.
Mhm.
Rochelle also said she doesn't want to get religious. I mean, it is Sunday, Rochelle. However, this reminds me of the second reading this Sunday. Show me your faith without works, and I will show you my works without faith. Rochelle goes on.
No, don't
Oh,
yet.
don't. Sorry.
I think we that's, that's good. That's good. And I've
Sister
said to you
Rochelle.
before.
Sister
What's
Rochelle.
that? Huh?
Sister Rochelle.
Well, philosopher Rochelle. I mean, this is the funny thing. This is not a religious statement. It just happens to be within religious text. But this is not a religious this is a secular, non-religious statement. This speaks to anybody that's looking to connect, right? It speaks to intention. It speaks to authenticity. It speaks to reciprocity, right? It also is a joke line. Like this is a one-liner, or like kind of like a sardonic one-liner. Show me a I don't know. Those one-liners where show me someone that does this, and I'll show you whatever. Like it's also one of those sort of like cheeky binaries of comparison. But in this case, it's incredibly telling, and I like this. Show me your faith without works, and I will show you my works without faith. I think it's fantastic. That's great. I would put that on par with anything that I've ever learned from Ryan Halliday and Stoicism, because he has talked about stuff like this time and time again. The Stoic philosophy talks about this, this idea of sympatheia, this, that we are connected. And when we choose not to be, that's when we get into trouble. We really are. So this is great. Now go ahead. I love that. I love that quote.
Rochelle says, if you say call me, but don't mean it, then it is worth less than the person who checks in with others without the call me if you need me statement.
Of course. Right? Of course. And if again, there's nothing wrong with saying that line, as long as you are also holding up that mirror of accountability, because it's a cooperative agreement. It's the whole, you are welcome is not a stop statement. There's actually more to that phrase of you are welcome. When someone says thank you, and I walk my kids through this, the actual phrase, if you're to extend it, is someone says thank you for something that you have shared, or a moment that you have sort of connected. And when you say you are welcome, it's not meant to stop that moment. It's you are welcome to keep taking from me. You are welcome to keep sitting at this table. You are welcome to remain in my space. That is the extension off of you are welcome. So someone so wholeheartedly saying to you, my God, thank you. You saved me. Thank you for the resource. And then you're like, yeah, you're welcome. And you walk away and you say it with the finality like that's a one moment. It isn't. If you dare to say you are welcome, the true spirit or the true faith that has to be in that is the work of allowing them into your space the next time too, allowing them into your resource the next time too, allowing them to show up and be with you even when it's inconvenient, because they are welcome. So it's not patter. It is not small. It is actually a very big type of connectivity. If you allow yourself to settle into it, if you anoint it with that energy, then you will never, ever have any question about the faith and the work. Never, because you are operating in that space. There's cost. There is cost to operating like that. But I would say you're prepared to mediate the cost because you start to develop the tools of connectivity and relationship that actually make, that whole sympatheia thing from Stoic philosophers work very well. Very well. Awesome. I love that. Lit me up.
Which way do you want to go now?
I have no friggin' clue. No friggin' clue. That was good though.
You were lit up. I like that.
That lit me up.
And Rochelle's on fire today. It's like she's literally sitting with us. She's sitting with us. She's part of the Decoded podcast.
Welcome to be here. Welcome to be a part of it. I think we're embodying it, dude. We're embodying it with this, right? We got the comments open. Yes, there is. So our self-control line, or our limit to this relationship, is that we don't have guests, right? So there is an element of kind of like, there is a sort of like a glass wall here to a degree. But as far as, podcasts go that are a permanent artifact of yours and my support of each other, there's also a permanent artifact here of other people being in the chat and not being ignored. They're included. They pop up. They're a part of it. They influence. They change. They shape. They color. They sort of season what we talk about. And I love that. That is faith and work operating in the exact same space. Same time. I get it. We weren't here yesterday. Life didn't allow it, right? Mm-hmm. But hey, Rochelle's demonstrating flexibility, a willingness to sort of sit with us at a time that, maybe it's circumstantial. Any other weekend it could have worked, but fantastic. Rochelle is here. That's awesome.
Since Rochelle's here sitting with us, I want to add, mm-hmm. So my principal and vice principal have a podcast. They recently started a podcast about...
I need this link. I want right away. I'm like, I gotta hear how high school topics are talked about in a completely different board. In
Okay,
a
so
in the religious in a Catholic board. I need this, yeah. Just
the
saying.
the podcast is about like it's called Becoming a Principal, and I'm going to send you the link. And basically, it's my principal and one of the vice principals. They've always wanted to do a podcast together, so they started one about what it means to be a principal. And you're right, there's a little bit of the flavor of being like Catholic school administrators, and they're both new, right? Like Jordan's brand new principal. So I mean,
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot.
yeah, he's brand new. Like
I forgot that. Well, no, I forgot. I sometimes I forget that Jordan Rochelle. I have I met Jordan. I did meet
he was
Jordan.
in the book club.
Right. I have met Jordan. I have. Yeah.
Um, so anyway, it's actually so this I'll make the connection to Rochelle. Jordan's been posting on Twitter about, you know, come check us out, first year as principal. Um, and they're talking about their reflective practice at a new level with a podcast to support others that might be considering a similar journey.
Mhm.
And Rochelle responded to Jordan saying she's looking forward to checking it out. And when I read Rochelle's response, I shook my head like she will listen and she will tell you what she thinks. Like this is the kind of traction this is the kind of traction any podcaster wants. It's not
Oh.
'cause they like I mean, unless you're a complete jerk and you're doing it for all the wrong reasons, Jordan and Matt are not doing it. They're doing it because they've benefited so much from podcasts. They've
Mhm.
benefited from people sharing journeys that have helped them lead them to where they are, and they just want to do the same. I can say that now, working for both of them and knowing them both for years, they're legit. They're legit. So it was that's the connection I wanted to make. That when I read that, I'm like, oh, watch out. If Rochelle is checking out your podcast, she will actually check it out,
Mhm.
and she will provide feedback if you ask. So anyway, I just wanted to say I saw that, Rochelle. I think that's great that you can support their podcast kind of like you support ours. It's
Mhm.
nice. And Rochelle's also, in my opinion, on that leadership track. Well, she's already leading in the system, um, just not in a formal leadership position. Which you know, I'm thankful for all the teachers in my system and other systems that lead in all kinds of ways and are happy to share their expertise and their knowledge and understanding, even though they're not in a formal position. But anyway, I'll share that link with you.
Thank you.
And it's I've listened to a bunch of they're short, they're not very long, which is awesome.
I like bites.
I
Really,
know you're
yeah, I right now where I'm at, I need to be able to when I notice that I've got a moment, have a list of things that I can choose from. It might not mean a podcast, but if I just need I'm sort of craving something to kind of like pass the time, anything that can sort of um keep my brain kind of sparking, I'm down.
cool. Um, I like the long form, but this is nice. 13 minutes, 19 minutes, 23 minutes. Um, I like that. And I can visualize their process. I think they probably school ends and um, one of them goes into the other one's office. They turn on the tech and they just start talking. You know,
Mhm.
I think that's what it is. It's not done on the weekends or anything. It's done like at work in one of their offices after the day's over or before the day starts or something. Um, yeah, so I wish them well with that, and
Mhm.
Rochelle is supporting them in one way, shape, or form. So that's awesome. Oh, Rochelle says she listens to them in the morning while she makes lunches and breakfast.
You slot it in, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it works if it's 19 minutes, 13 minutes, 15 minutes. It's not. You can get it done during making breakfasts or making lunches or
Mhm.
I don't know, putting on your makeup if that's something you do or whatever. Like I know I listen to stuff while I'm doing certain things, and I'm like, "Oh, you'll love this." I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I need to vacuum the basement."
Yeah.
I automatically know what I can listen to because of the time it takes to vacuum the basement and the time it takes to listen to this thing. Like, I kinda pre-program that and just go with it.
Yep. Yep.
I remember when Carlos used to listen to us or watch us on Monday mornings when he was at work
Carlos.
getting ready for the day.
Carlos, just so this is actually it's on our feed. Carlos, I need to reconnect with you. This is perfect. So I'm going to make the note. I'm going to make the note.
Make the note
Carlos.
or send the email, for Tuesday morning or something.
No, I think I actually have his mobile number. I might
Okay,
send him a text. I might go there. Such a sweet. Like that's thank you for putting that on my radar. Yeah.
you're welcome.
Roque.
C-Rock.
One of the best Foodapalooza visits for me that we had sitting in that chicken place
The
talking
chicken
and
place?
remember the chicken place where we sat, you, me, and him? It was like cold and rainy, and
Yes.
he's like throwing story down about his life when he's a kid and connecting religion and philosophy and his current and don't even get me started on the earlier in the night when we were sitting in that West Indian, the parking lot for the West Indian restaurant, and they brought the coffees out to us
Yes.
after we had that great the curried goat, like oh man, the oxtail, whatever the hell we had, it was delicious. And they're like, we thought you might be cold. Here's some Nescafe. We're like, we're down. Pitch dark outside. We're sitting at the back of our vehicles having our little Foodapalooza eat thing. So Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos.
It's funny, I don't often remember all the food, but we had the Big Mac pizza that night too.
We had the Big Mac pizza. We had the chicken at the Asian restaurant. I don't remember
Yep.
the name. Um,
That's right near Penny's. It's across the street from
yeah, it's
Penny's.
across the street
Yeah.
from Penny's. Is that also the night that we had the Eritrean food and Jamie joined us at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe so.
Remember
I
that
don't
restaurant?
that's vague. That's
Oh,
a little bit more vague. I it might be. No,
and
we started that night. No, I don't think it was the same. I think
oh,
Carlos has come out twice.
okay.
Carlos has come out twice. That night that I'm talking about, remember we started at the Indian restaurant and we had the spicy curry,
Yes,
and then we went for jerk.
right.
We had chicken. I just don't remember we had something in between. I don't know if it was a 3 or 4 night stop. Yeah. But that Eritrean was good too.
That was
Yeah.
good, but I don't know if I would wanna go back.
I'm fine. I had it. I love that we had the flatbread, that buckwheat flatbread, and all the spicy meats and
Injera,
what
Injara.
injera. Yeah, yeah, that buckwheat flatbread was delicious.
And the only reason I know is because I taught many Eritrean students at St.
Hmm.
John,
Yeah,
and so has Carlos. So
Carlos, look at what he gave back to our pod right now. That's awesome.
100%. That guy is he's like Rochelle, genuine. He's genuine people. And if you give him the time of day, he will give you his heart.
Hmm.
There are some people, when I see that, I think, I want to be more like Carlos. But then I'm like, no, I can't. That's not who I am. I'm not built like that. That's just who Carlos is. And
Hmm.
it comes from his lived experience and his upbringing,
Yep,
all good stuff. Everybody has a gift. If you let him in and he wants to come in, then it's good stuff.
agreed.
Yeah. And even Ramona. I s-
Hmm.
Yesterday on Facebook, I was just scrolling my feed, and I'm like, "Oh, it's Ramona." She had posted pictures of her and her husband playing golf.
I saw that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think I saw that pop up there. I think there's a yearly tournament, something that it was referred to.
So I mean, I wonder how she's doing. She's an administrator in high school, and she's doing her thing. Like, it's neat. It's neat for me to see these people
Hmm.
living their lives and just little snippets on the Facebook.
Yep,
Little
agreed.
snippets. I actually had a really cool memory. I was going through the Facebook and I somebody mentioned a name of a guy in high school,
Oh,
Dave. So let me give you some context. I think I was in grade 12, maybe I was in grade 13. I don't know. It was a senior year, and I must have been in 12 and he must have been in 13. Physics class, he sat close to us. He was one of the cooler dudes in the school, and he was on the football team. And I remember I used to call him Beast because
Mm,
he was a running back. He was built perfectly for this position, and he would just run people over. It was fantastic to watch if you're into that kind of thing.
yeah.
Anyway, I used to call him Beast, and we chat in physics class because we sat near each other. And I remember he was so genuine with me. He was a good dude with me. He was a good dude. And his name popped up on the Facebook feed. So I did some searching, and I found who I thought was his wife. So I messaged her. I'm like, "Yo, you don't know me. My name's Roland. I went to high school with what appears to be your husband." And I gave the full name, and I told her a story. And I'm like, "Can you please pass this on to him?" Um, that's all I asked. Just tell Dave Rowland says, "Hey, I hope he's good." And I noticed he was a pilot, and he had talked about becoming a pilot when we were in physics,
Mhm.
and it looks like it happened, which is really cool. So I just had one of those moments. I'm like, "No, I'm doing this." She read my message. She never responded to me, and that's okay. Um, and we move on. So I kind of like when that happens.
Mhm.
When that happens with the socials. Irma's joining us. Irma, amen, and good morning. There's a bit of a theme this morning. I, I'm gonna take it and move it into a spiritual realm. Chris, you do whatever you want with it if you see any patterns,
I'm
but
gonna accept it. I'm gonna let it in. That's what I'm gonna do.
accept it and let it in. That's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, anything else you want to talk about? I think our time is basically up for this Sunday morning.
Mhm. Um, I'm good, dude. Life is full right now. it's funny. I feel like for me right now, I feel like my to-do lists are matching with my personal universe. So I don't feel like the lists are only a artifact of what I need to remember. It's not excessive stuff. Like it's not like I have so many that I'm creating the list so I forget. It's just even a short list I'm putting in there so I can actually integrate it into my day. So it'll be cool. I think I heard people starting to kind of like pop up upstairs, um, go and see where everyone's at in their day and however they're launching. I think I got to go get gas. I
Mm,
think price gas is it was as of last night at a decent price. I didn't go get it, so not guaranteed. I suspect my heart might be broken. It's no longer at that price
mhm.
anymore. Um, School's good for me right now. I'm enjoying. I'm it's nice with so here's without, you know, going too many details. These first 2 weeks, I've really enjoyed the work. And that's loaded. To be able to enjoy the work, a lot of other things have to happen. So I enjoyed the work and I'm still in that afterglow of enjoy the work, enjoying the week, looking forward to the things I have going on my personal life. I'm in the last week of my show. I get to go and start to rehearse the next show, which what a gift, like to be able to sort of wrap up one show well and dovetail that into the next play that I'm in. So again, I'm enjoying all these pieces right now, which is really cool. Yeah.
I am happy to hear that, and I was going to say I hope it continues, but it never goes that way. I just hope you keep um, gathering
Hmm.
the nuggets from the universe uh, as you do the work and life
Yeah.
flows. That's all.
Yeah, I get it. There's no guarantee there, and I don't expect a guarantee. I think I'm just noticing that this past 2 weeks, my input gave me the output that I wanted, and that can change. Um, and it might then I have to decide do I if I have to do more input in order to have the output. But there was a nice There was good balance in the last 2 weeks for me, despite how, if I were to show you my calendar, how how tightly scheduled things were,
Mhm.
right? But for whatever reason, there was just enough expansion space that even when something started to have a bit of run over, I still, it was kind of accounted for in some way and things still moved ahead. There was some luck. There were a few moments of luck, but I think sometimes luck is a result of preparation, right?
Mhm.
That's how as Stoics we look at opportunity. It's because you're prepared. And it's not that opportunity randomly occurs, it's that because you're prepared, you're able to notice that it's occurring and make your move. So maybe there was a little bit of that in operation as well. So I am expecting to build more weeks like that. I'm going to keep this process until this process needs to be changed.
Gotcha. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, Rochelle says, "Bonjourne." Same to you.
Bonjourne.
Everybody else who,
Everybody else, Irma, great that you stopped in. Love it.
yes, welcome. Check out Jordan and Matt's podcast.
Yeah.
I sent you the link. Right,
Everybody else too. Yeah.
I'm posting it here.
Cool.
For those wanting to become principals, not wanting to become principals, you can get something out of what those two gentlemen are talking about. It's just cool to hear about their journey.
Hmm.
They've talked about some interesting things so far, so I'll keep listening until it's not interesting anymore, and that's what I would expect people would do with us too. If it doesn't fit with what you
Yep.
are, or who you are, go on to the next thing.
It's
Because you and I
great.
are
It's
we're not doing this for everybody else.
we've talked about this. We can't imagine at this point when we wouldn't do this, but we also have an open conversation around if it's not useful anymore.
Then it's not useful anymore.
Well, then we have decisions to make, right? We have decisions to make. That's I think we've kind of accepted that as the process. I would say definitely spending 8 years working on this podcast is now kind of in that space of like, holy crap, 8 years about conversations, education, fatherhood, wellness, philosophy. Who'd have thought that even we would be interested in it this long?
That's a good point. Very good point.
And it also proves another point about the integrative nature of life, that there are so many little connective bits, connective tissues, and you can have an ongoing discussion basically, that's anchored in some really really rich spaces, right? So I to that end, I wish Jordan, you said Matt, Jordan and Matt,
Yeah.
I wish them well because they are where you and I were 8 years ago, or maybe even further back than that, but really kind of 8 years ago. Two people meeting for a conversation and deciding to record it and send it out into the world. So I wish them well in this endeavor. And if they're ever checking out our content, the work is worth it. The work is worth it. You find the simple way to get your conversation out there, be accountable to each other as long as it's useful.
Mhm.
Cool stuff.
Okay, this was season 8, episode 2, number 308 of the Dakota podcast. Have a good one.
Ciao, man. Peace.